Yeah, let's maybe not lose any more time and get right into our webinar here at Transkribus. A very warm welcome from our team here at Transkribus. Today, we will guide you through the next gen of Transkribus together with my colleagues Sarah, Helene, Miriam, and Johannes, and I am Florian. We will be talking about Transkribus and what is coming up in the next couple of weeks and months with the next gen of Transkribus. I'm very happy that so many people are here today and are very excited about the new and upcoming changes. And without further ado, let's have a look what is going to come. First, a quick overview of what we will be talking today. First, I will give you a short introduction about Transkribus in general and also about our cooperative. So we are not a very conventional enterprise or undertaking in this sense. So we will briefly talk about that, and then we will already dive into the upcoming changes with Transkribus Next Gen and the new interface that some of you might have already seen. After that, we will have a look at the Transkribus workflow, so how you can work with Transkribus in general and what you can do with the Transkribus software and ecosystem. After that, a very exciting part, training models. That's one of our core strengths. You can train your own models with a couple of clicks. Of course, you need to train the model with the good training data. So the training data preparation is more than a couple of clicks, but in general, you will have fun with Transkribus. After that, another upcoming change, we will transition to a new subscription model in the next weeks. So just a quick heads up about that and a few more infos about what is coming. And finally, we will have time for a lot of questions, as there are so many people here, and we will try our best to handle the questions in the chat. And also, of course, live questions will be allowed. So let's start right into the introduction of what we will be talking in the next minutes. So first, what is Transkribus? The most of you will know what Transkribus is. Just a short recap. Transkribus can be understood as your AI-powered ally to work with historical documents and also save a lot of time. Yeah, you will probably know that working with historical documents consumes a lot of time, and our mission is to help you providing the best tools to unlock historical documents and also save a lot of time and get to the really fun work, which is working with the materials and not spending hours and hours of transcribing the materials. A quick view to our history. We are also coming from a very academic background. We were founded after two EU projects. They were called Transcriptorium and READ, and that's where also our name comes from. So the READ cooperative still bears that name of READ in it. We were founded in 2019 after the second EU-funded project was finished, where the consortium needed to think about a way how we can transition the by then already very successful Transkribus platform to a sustainable model that will be living in the future. And now 4 years after, we are still there. We're bigger than then, and we have about almost 150,000 users on the platform, which is just great after 4 years only. And also, the cooperative is a very unique model. We are owned by our users, you could say. So the users that use Transkribus every day are also our members and shareholders. Organized as a cooperative society, we have about more than 155 to be exact members today. More than 30 countries, actually. I think it's already 31. So a really great initiative, I would say, to work together on this unlocking of historical documents. Here is just a image to show you how many institutions are part of our cooperative, but there are also a lot of private members who are very enthusiastic about Transkribus and support our mission. But we are nothing about our community, and that's also what drives us. Here you can see an image of the last user conference. Maybe just a quick side note, the next one will be in the February of 2024, 15th and 16th February in Innsbruck again. So if you want to come to Innsbruck and come to this very nice, or be part of a very nice family photo with a lot of very enthusiastic people, you're very warmly invited. Of course, we're also very active on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, also Instagram recently. So if you want to reach out and want to engage with us, that's the place to be. But of course, we're also available via email. Let's have a look at our ecosystem. So Transkribus as such is more than just a software product. We understand ourselves as a whole ecosystem from the beginning, where you obviously need to get the materials into digital form. We also provide solutions for that. A very low-cost solution is the ScanTent in combination with the DocScan, where you can scan documents up to a little bit larger than A3 or tabloid size with your smartphone. So very portable. You can basically pack together a ScanTent, go into the archive and scan the materials with your smartphone with automated recognition of when you change a page, etc. And then, of course, the core of the ecosystem is Transkribus, where you can transcribe and collect data, annotate the data, and also train your own AI models, and then also use those trained AI models to recognize the materials. And finally, a rather new solution. Some of you might already have encountered our read and search solution. That's basically a website where you can showcase your work and share your material with the world in a searchable platform. So basically with full text search and also advanced search, you can make your materials available to the general public. And we are currently in the process of building Transkribus sites based on that solution, which we have built in the last years. So that's also something very exciting that is coming to be reality in the next weeks. But what does Transkribus make possible in general? First, you probably know Transkribus because of its handwriting transcription capabilities, so AI-powered handwriting transcription, but also printed material can be transcribed with Transkribus. And of course, you will have your text editor to manually transcribe documents. As said, you can train your own AI models for text, but later on we will also hear about new AI models that are coming, where you can train also models for the structure of your documents. You can also collaborate, you can share your collections and documents, work together with others on those materials. A lot of crowdsourcing projects and citizen science projects are executed with Transkribus. And also the searching capabilities are very helpful in very different occasions, as you can search the full text of your documents. Of course, there's more to it. You can also tag your materials with Transkribus. So the annotation of materials is something that really provides value when you can add more information to different documents. That's something that can also be done with Transkribus, not only the text, but also the structure of your documents. But we will hear more about that later on. And obviously, you can also export your materials in very different formats, from a simple PDF or docx export to very advanced exports and data preparations. As said, Transkribus is available as a web platform. From the project times, we also have a Java client that you can download to your desktop. But we are in the process of moving everything to the web. So we will have one Transkribus that works in the web later on, also similar to the web desktop client for different operating systems. But right now, the main software is on app.transkribus.eu, and it's also already available in 12 different interface languages. And a very, very important item is that we are storing all data here in Innsbruck on our own servers. So data protection is something that we value very highly. And that's why we maintain and operate all infrastructure ourselves. But now let's have a quick look on the next gen of Transkribus. So I will introduce that, and then my colleague Sarah will take over. So you can already get a glimpse of the next gen of Transkribus on our beta instance. So it's available to everyone. If you want to check it out, please do so. There's already a lot of things to check out. They are quite different to the current app.transkribus version. So a lot of things will change and have already changed. The reasoning here is to really provide a software product and a platform that is viewed from a holistic perspective and also viewed as a holistic product, to really provide you a good solution to work with your historical documents. And the very holistic view, as we try to have it, is also incorporated in the main navigation. So here is just a screenshot of the main navigation where you can see the desk, which is already available on the beta version. That's basically where the work happens, where you work with your material, where you can manually transcribe and manage your documents and your collections. But then there's also other sections of Transkribus that are coming in the next weeks and also months for some, which are the models. So where you can train your models. It's already partially integrated in the current app version where you can train text models, but the new model section will be quite different to the current section in the app. There you can really make the magic happen when you train your own AI models that are really tailored to your material. Something else that is coming is Transkribus Sites, as I've mentioned before. This will be, you can think of it like a content management system where you can publish your material with a couple of clicks to a website where you can customize colors, texts, images to your liking and share your very valuable work with the world. And finally, that's more of a sneak peek. We are also already behind the curtains working on a solution that will be called Transkribus Connect, as the platform is so powerful and there's, I said, about 150,000 users registered already. We will be also working on Transkribus Connect in the next months to provide you a solution where you can connect with like-minded people and also others that are working in the very exact same niche as you are. As we know, there are very, very narrow niches with very specific problems, and connecting with people that are working on those very same problems is sometimes very hard. And that's why we are trying to come up with this solution where you can really connect with everyone who is doing the same work as you do. That is probably going to come at the beginning of 2024. But as a sneak peek, it's probably worthwhile already thinking of it. And now I will hand over to my colleague Sarah, who will really deep dive together with you into the new interface and show you what it is about.
Thank you, Flo. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So now I will explain you the new interface. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or even better, you can post them in the Q&A, and we'll try to reply to them during the webinar if the answer is simple, or we will keep them for the end and answer them live. So before I want just to explain you, before showing you the new interface, I just want to explain you how the content, how the documents are managed in Transkribus. If you're already familiar with Transkribus, you know that, but maybe there are new users. So when you work in Transkribus, the first levels is a collection, and the collection are the level of folders, so are folders and where you store inside them your documents. Usually a collection means one project, and within that project you have different documents. So you can have multiple collections. You see each collection has a name and a collection ID, a unique identifier of the collection. And then inside the collection you have documents. You can, within a collection, you can have many documents as you want. The only thing that you need to be aware of is that it's not possible for now to create subfolders. So there is a collection and the documents, and this is the only structure that you can have within Transkribus for now. And then each document can be each document has images. You can have a document of one image, like a letter, or a document made up by 1,000 of images, like an entire volume. It's just important to understand this difference, especially when you think about working with Transkribus. So you need to plan your work and your documents according to that. And now let's see the new interface. As Flo said, this is available for now on beta. You can at any point access the beta version. So just type this link. My colleagues will probably post it in the chat, or just replace the app.transkribus.au with beta.transkribus.au, and you can use the same credential to access it. So this is the first page when you open the beta version. Flo has already explained you these sections. You see here your collection, and here below your recent documents. If you go to collections, you see all the collection that you have created, or the collection that someone has shared with you, because it's also possible to share collections. And you can see them as thumbnails, or if you switch, you can see them in a table structure, and also see your role. For instance, on this collection, my role is editor. On this one, I'm the owner of the collection, and here the number of documents per collection. And you can, at any point, you can change you can edit the name of the collection and add some details, or you can delete the collection here, something that we don't want to do now. If you want to create a collection, just click here, enter the name, and click create. Inside the collection, we have the documents, and here you see a thumbnail of the documents inside this collection. We have tried to improve this collection management view. So you see here the name of the document, when it was uploaded, and you can always delete the document, link the document to a different collection. When you link the document to a different collection, you just create a soft copy of the document in the other collection. So the ID remains the same, but you have let's say a short link, a shortcut of the document in another collection. So it isn't a real copy, and every edit that you do, besides of the collection, appears in the document. Or you can edit the metadata, and here, as you see, there are more info, more details that you can add, like the title, the author, the writer, the description, genre, hierarchy, authority, external ID. In this case, I took I had the IIIF link, backlink, a script type. It's not necessary to edit all these metadata. Add them only if they're useful to your work, but in other cases, usually it is enough to have a title that is significant to you and to your project. And also here, also here you can sort the documents by newest, oldest, by date, or also by alphabetical order. And the same here, you can switch from the thumbnails view to the table view. And you have all the details, and this, which is the document ID. And here you can do the same things. Let's go back to the thumbnail view. And now when you want to look inside a document, you click here and you see the pages in this document. Okay, this is not perfect example. I want one with more images. Okay. Here you see we have 76 images. We can decide to change the number of images per page. We can go to 48 or 96, and now we have more pages. And this color here indicates the status of the page. So there are 4 status: new, which is green, in progress. You see here the status is new, in progress, done, final, and ground truth. And you can also filter by status. If I want only the in progress pages, I can filter it here. I want the in progress and the done pages, or just the done pages, and probably I don't have any ground truth right in this document. No. So usually we use new when you've just uploaded your document, so you haven't done anything on it. In progress when we are working on it, but on the image, so on the layout level and on the text. Done when you have completed the transcription, or you have checked your transcription in the case of an automatic transcription. Ground truth when you are sure about the transcription and you want to use it to train your model. As Mia will explain us later, ground truth is a term used in machine learning to indicate the data, in our cases, the images and the transcription, on which a machine learning model is trained. So it's a term that comes from machine learning. And then final, you can usually we use it when you have done the transcription, you have checked it, and you have also added some other elements like tags, and the pages are complete, and you can download them. Another cool things here is that you can also change the size of the thumbnail if you want to have a better preview of the content. You see, in this case, you can navigate the pages without opening them and switch from one to the other. And the last thing here is that, let's go back. Yes, you can always select all the images and then start to work with them, like to recognize them. We will later see how it works that. Or you can manually select them and start the recognition only for these 4 pages, or also export only the selected pages, change the status if I want to change the status and not doing it manually for every single page. I can do it here. I want to change the status here to final, and in a few seconds we have the updated status. And the last element here, I can delete these images. And if you see that there is an error in your document, like I want to delete the first image because I'm not interested in it, you can always delete a single image. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Page deleted. Remember that it's not possible to undo this action, so be sure when you delete a page. And if you have forgotten to take a picture or there is an error, you can always add a new page here. You drag and drop the page and you set the page number, so on where you want to put the new page.
Just
yes.
a really quick question: can you increase the size of the interface a little bit if you press Control plus? Yeah, or with the zoom, yeah, slightly.
Is it better?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and then finally we arrive to the layout, to the editor. So when we really work on the document, and you can go here. Yeah, now probably it seems really strange because it's a bit big. Let's try to decrease it a bit. Yeah, and here we work on the documents. So here you see all the elements to modify the layout. Yeah, okay. I decrease it a bit just to have the buttons here on the top. I will just show you how to do it manually, but it's very rare that you need to do it manually. Usually it works while the automatic layout analysis. So first you need to create a text region. The text region should encase all the text on the page. You see here it's created, and then you can add the lines. You click this pen icon and one click to start the line and double click to create it, and the same here. Why the lines are important? Because you need to tell the model, tell Transkribus which are the lines that you want to transcribe and where is the text on the page. Sure. Usually we do it automatically, but this is just to explain you how it works. This is to add the tables, and you can always click here the info button to see all the shortcuts that you can use with the layout. For instance, is it possible to split a shape vertically or horizontally? If you want to split it vertically, press H on your keyboard, and in this way you can split the text region in different text regions and have one for each paragraph. If you want then to merge these shapes, click M on your keyboard. It's an example. You can do an example here. We have one text line here and the other here. Select the first one, click Ctrl and select the other one. And then with M on the keyboard, we just end with one text, one line of text. And then here you have here you can transcribe your text, or what here will appear the automatic transcribe text. Finally, here you can undo and redo your action, save the edits that you have done. It's a bit slow. And at any point, clicking on here, okay, you can go back to a previous version of this page. So now let's take let's take a page on which I've already worked, like this one. Here you see this is the automatic transcription. I have on this side the regions and the lines, and on the left I can edit them, and here on the right I have the text, the automatic transcription. At any point I can also edit this one. Finally, here you have you can change the settings of the editor. So this button is for the virtual keyboard. If you have special characters that you want to use in your transcription, here you can you have them, and you can always change the characters that you want to display. This is to increase the font, and this to decrease the font. With this button, you can switch the view if you prefer to work with the transcription underneath the image instead of on the side. And here under configuration, there are all the configuration setting for the editor. If you want to change the font for now, unfortunately, we are only able to offer sans serif and serif, but we hope to increase the available fonts in the future. You can decide to automatically center the text, the image, to enable the spell check, to show the region numbers, and also to enable the autocomplete and to show the tag attributes. And then under layout, these are all the configuration about the left side of the image. So how you want to see the text regions and the lines. If, for example, you can change the label size, the circle size, the line width. If I increase the line width here, the line are more evident. And the same for the highlight height, so the height of the shadow when you select a line. So this one. And you can also change the colors and for both for the lines and for the highlight ones. So there is really, you can customize the editor to your needs. And here you can manage the structure types, or also call them also structural tags, but we will look at them later. Here is the virtual keyboard. You can add the special characters that you need. You can simply select the Unicode range, like here, I want Greek, I can select all the characters in this Unicode range, or you can manually add characters and save your changes. And finally, the tags, in this case, the textual tags, and we will look at them later. So these are the main things of the editor. The last two things, going back. Yes, here remember always that you can see the jobs, so the task that you have performed with Transkribus. You can go here and see your jobs and the status of the job, if it is running, or if it is finished, if it failed for some region, and you can always go to the page, to the document where the job has been completed. And clicking here, you can edit your account and change the language of the interface or logout. So these are the main things, and I think that now we can move on and talk about the workflow. So you have seen the interface, but it's also important to understand what you can do. So the main thing that we want to do with Transkribus is to go from the image to a machine-readable text, because we all know that when you take images of a document or the library or the archive have digitized the document for you, you can read the image through your screen, but the content isn't searchable, and you can't process it with other tools. So this is what Transkribus enables to do. You can go from the image to the text that both a human but also a machine can read. This is a schematic workflow, and then we will have a look inside the platform. So the first step is to upload your document, and then you need to find the most suitable document model for your documents. What is a model? A model is an algorithm trained by the machine learning system, and you need to choose the model that fits better the content of your document, the script, the language, the type of writing. So there is not it's not, you need to choose a model because at the moment it doesn't exist a model that is capable to deal with every language and every script in the world. So you need to find a model that has been trained on the documents, on scripts similar to the ones in your documents. If there is a model available, it's perfect. You can choose it. You can do some tests and then take it and start the text recognition. After a few minutes, it depends on the amount of pages that you want to process. You will have the recognized text, and at this moment, you can tag the documents if you're interested in tagging. You can search for terms, or you can download your transcription. It's more complex if there is if a public model doesn't work well with your documents, and so you couldn't find a suitable model. At this point, you need to train a model specific for your documents, but Miriam will show us later how to do that. When you have trained your model, at this point, you can use it on your documents and start the process, start the recognition and download the transcription. So first, you need to create a collection. There is it's very easy to find the new collection section. I can show you how to do that. So we are here. We go to the all collection. We create a new collection. We create it, and here you're asked to upload your documents. It's possible to upload two types of documents: images, JPEG or PNG or PDF. The browser, we have to copy and paste this. Okay, we select the images that we want to upload. We add the name of the document and we click submit. Now the upload is completed. Transkribus is creating the document, and you see here the status of the job. It says running. So we need just to wait a few seconds until it's finished. Okay, it's finished. Let's click here. And now we have our document. If I go into the collection test, you see I have only one document in this collection, and in this document there are four pages. At this point, I want to recognize these pages. First, select the pages that you want to recognize. You can do it within the document, or here if you want to select the entire document, just select there, hit there, and click recognize. What we are going to do now is the text recognition. So we want to recognize the text of our documents because it's a document in English. It's likely that we have a public model in this language. Right now we have 145 public models. It means that you can use these models on your documents, and these models were trained by the Transkribus team or by the Transkribus community. So we as a team, usually we train some models, but there is also the users of Transkribus who want to share the models with others and make their models public. So I need to filter by language. but this function isn't working on beta yet, but you see, we have this transcribus writing model, and you can see all the details here about this model. This model was trained by the Transkribus community. The language is English. It's important to look at the training size, so on how many words this model has been trained. In this case, 2 million words. So it is a very big model, but it's not necessary that all the models have this size. It really depends on how much you want a model to be general. If you want to train a model for a specific hand or a few hands, 50,000 pages, 50,000 words could be enough. This is the character error rate, so the accuracy of our model. This is the number, so the percentage of error that the model usually do. So with this model, we can, on a similar hand on the ones on which it was trained, we can expect to have a 90% of correctness and a 5% of error, and then the centuries and type of documents on which the model was trained, because we also have models trained on printed material. Option that we have here, two important options that may increase the accuracy of the recognition. So the first is the smart search. In reality, the smart search doesn't increase the accuracy, but makes the text more searchable. So it's more likely that you will find the words that you are searching for, even if the transcription isn't correct. And you can enable it here. And then there is the language model. The language model means that it doesn't only take into consideration the optical part of the model, but it also considers the language of the pages on which it was trained. So it isn't a general dictionary of 18th century English, but it's only based on the language that the model encounter, on the terms that the model encounter during the training. So it's based on the words and on the language found in the ground truth material. And then we can start the recognition. The job started. It may take some time. Yeah, we're not really lucky now because we are 50 in the queue. We are trying to improve that, but right now we just need to wait. We can move on with the explanation, and then I can show you the result later. Yeah, what we have done now, it's using, we have performed the text recognition of the document, and usually it is called handwritten text recognition. This is the technology that enables machine to read and written text, converting scanned images of text into machine encoding text that then you can export in various formats. Probably you are familiar with OCR. OCR stands for optical character recognition. HDR and OCR do the same job. So in the end, they convert scanned image of text into machine encoded text, but there are some differences. OCR works for printed and typed text, and it focuses on the single characters, while HDR works for unwritten text, but not only for unwritten text. We have seen that it performs better than OCR with early modern printed books and also with historical newspapers. HDR doesn't process character by character, but it processes the entire line, so it works quite differently. And for this reason, it's really important to have a good, it's very important, the layout recognition step, so to have the correct lines, especially when you're going to train a model. And it's possible to train custom AI models. In the last 15 years, the last decade, HTR significantly improves thanks to artificial intelligence and the machine learning approach. So these are the basics behind it. As I said, you can work with HTR with unwritten documents and historical prints, but right now we don't have a general model for all the scripts and the languages and the epochs, even if in principle Transkribus can work with scripts from every epoch, language, and period. You have two options. One option is to select the public model, and if no public model is available for your type of scripts, you can train a custom model inside the Transkribus platform. Yeah, these are the steps that I have already shown you how to do the text recognition. We have seen it within the platform. And here are just some details about the public models. You can see them on our website with a longer description, and you can also try some pages, try to upload one page and get the results directly on our website, or you can see them inside the Transkribus platform. You can filter the models by name, language, if they're unwritten, or if they are trained on written or printed documents, and century. And this is important because you want to find the model trained on a script closer to the one in your document. So it's important to find a model trained on something similar on what you have to get a better result. And it's also important to look at the training set size, the character error rate. You see them here below. Usually models train on the bigger bigger ground truth, on bigger set are more generic models, so they perform better out of the box. But for specific hand, sometimes it's easier and you get better results if you train a very specific model. And then there is the character error rate. The character error rate is the percentage of characters that have been transcribed incorrectly by the text model. So if the character error rate is 5%, it means that comparing the automatic transcription and the human transcription that you have provided for the training, the automatic transcription did transcribed 5 characters wrongly out of 100 characters. And the performance of the model really depends on the data seen during the training, especially the training and the validation data. As I said before, there is this option that you can enable to increase the performance. You need to test them out. Not always they work. So you can enable the smart search, which is an advanced searching tool, and the language model. Finally, last week, we also this announcement. We are working also with what we call supermodels. So the technology behind them to train them is different from the other models. And the idea is to have very big and general models that are able to recognize a variety of materials, writing and languages, and both unwritten and printed text simultaneously. So these models will be trained by ReadCop, and then you can use them, and they should be able to give you very good results, even if they haven't seen this type of script during the training. Right now we have one supermodel available. It's called the Text Titan first. And it was trained on English, Dutch, French, Finnish, German, and Swedish. You can request access to this supermodel if you want to test it out, and we can post the link in the chat. You can find it under the news section on our website. Then when you have your transcription, your automatic transcription, what you can do with it, it really depends on your project. You can mark the structure of your document and add structural tags. I will show you in this example. We have two types of tags, the structural tags, and they pertain to the layout, and the textual tags that pertain to the text. You see here, I have tagged this region with a heading, this region as a paragraph, this one as page number, and this one as a marginalia. And going here under configuration, layout, structure types, you can manage them and add new types, new structure types. Yeah, it depends on the sources that you have. Like here, if I want to, I can create text regions and then right click on the text region, click assign structure type. In this case, it's the page number. Here is the heading, and here the paragraph. And then you can save it. It's important because you can also train models to automatically assign tags like that. And Helene will talk about that. And then we have the textual tags. If you want to tag persons, places, names, dates, you can do that within the platform. Also add the attributes or the Wikidata ID, and you can export after that the tags or in various formats like in XML, in TI, or in Word. Like here, I can select the date and add the date tag, and then the normalized version of the date, and save. And I can do the same for the places. I can also add new tags. These are the tags that are provided by default. And then you can add, yeah, you can add here the details of this place. It is also possible to customize the tags. Go here, tags, and you can modify them. The searching, you can, there are different levels of searching. You can search the documents and collection IDA names. This is only to navigate inside your collection and documents. But in regards to the content, you can search the text, the tags, and there are two options for the text. You can just perform a full text search, so have the search the words and phrases as they appear in the transcript, and also it's also possible to enable the fuzzy search. So you will search the word that you have typed, but also words that different from 1 or 2 characters. And then there is this more search, this advanced searching tool. With Smart Search, it looks to several alternatives for each recognized words of the automatic transcription. So it doesn't look only for the words that you see in the transcription, but also to all the other alternatives that the model does during the recognition. It's important to know that it's impossible to enable Smart Search in the moment in which you are searching, you need to enable it to flag the smart search option when you are running text recognition. So it's something that you need to plan to do before when you start the text recognition, because only at that moment, if you enable this option, we can save all the alternatives. This is especially important if the character error rate isn't, if the character error rate is high. For instance, in this case, I had a character error rate of 20%, so the model wasn't really good on this document. But enabling smart search, I was able to find the name Tommaso, even when the model transcribed it as Dominato. So these are two different words. And with fast search, I couldn't be able to find it, but with smart search, because Tommaso was one of the alternatives that the model guessed, and because this alternative was saved thanks to smart search, I could find it. And finally, the download options. This is just an overview, but on the Help Center you find more details. It's possible to download the images with the METS file, which is the file with all the metadata. Then you can download the page XML and the Alto XML. These are two formats that enable you to download not only the text and the transcription, but also the information about the layout and all the coordinates of the text regions and of the lines. Then you can download the PDF. You can download your transcription as a PDF. You will get a searchable PDF, so the image and underneath the image, the transcription. You can download a TI file, a doc file, and also it's also possible to download the tags as an Excel sheet and the table, if I'm working with table, as an Excel sheet. And now I give the microphone to Miriam. She will talk about training models.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam, and I'm going to talk you through how you can train your custom models in Transkribus. And we included this image here to kind of symbolize that sometimes training AI models might seem like some kind of magic is happening, but actually there is a lot of human effort still behind it, especially the preparation of the training data. Often a lot of people are involved, and so that you keep this in mind also when you want to train your own models. So first, let's talk about what kind of models you can train within Transkribus. At the moment, you can train text recognition and lines recognition models. And as we've heard before today, very soon you will also be it will be possible to train fields models, to train the structure, and also tables models. On the next slide, I think we'll have a bit more of an overview on that. Yeah, as the name suggests, text recognition models are used to train the texts of your documents. Lines models, with that you will train the baselines of your documents, and fields and tables models are used to train the structure of documents or your material, and in Transkribus these are the text regions. Before we really get started with the training process, we wanted to give a very basic overview of some of the terms that you will encounter when training models in Transkribus. So as Sarah has already mentioned before, Transkribus uses machine learning, and this is a subfield of artificial intelligence, which focuses on the development of algorithms and models, as we are talking about all the time right now. And these algorithms or models enable computers to autonomously learn from the data you are feeding it without being explicitly programmed for every specific task. And then, yeah, we also have some basic information on AI models. So these are algorithms created during the training process of a machine learning system. And the models are the output of the training process, embodying the knowledge that they have acquired. And then some more information on the term ground truth that we have already heard quite often today, and you will also be confronted with whenever you want to train a model in Transkribus. So ground truth basically are all the pages that you have transcribed manually, and in a bit more technical terms, it is labeled data on which the model is trained, so that the model will be able to identify the patterns that predict those labels on the new data. And the ground truth material consists of two sets, of the training and the validation set. And this is what you will need for the training. The training set is a set of examples that is used to fit the parameters of the model. So basically the data on which the knowledge in the net is based on, or the pages on which the model is trained. And the validation set then is a set of examples that provide an unbiased evaluation of a model used to tune the model's parameters during training. So these are the pages on which the model attests its accuracy even during the training process. And both of these sets are necessary to start a training. For the validation set, we always recommend to use 10% of the training set. You can also do that automatically. And it is especially important that the validation set includes all the examples that are in your training data, so that it is as representative as possible. Yeah, and now we are going to look at how you can train text models in Transkribus. And before you can start with that, and the training process within the software is not very difficult, but as we have already said before, you need training material or training data. And we always recommend that you can start between 25 and 75 pages or 5,000 and 15,000 words of transcribed material, which is the ground truth. And this, of course, always depends on the document type. So there's a very important distinction between printed or handwritten documents. For printed documents, usually you need a lot less ground truth material to start a training and to receive decent results. And then for handwritten documents, it always depends very much on your document types and your input. But 25 to 75 pages are our recommendation to start with. And then, as we've also heard before, if you want to prepare your training data, you have two options. You can either just transcribe all of your data, all the pages in your documents manually, so all of the pages that you want to use for the training, or you can apply a model that has been trained on a similar script if some model is available so you can check our public models, and then once you've run that, correct the transcription of the results of these models. So the first option, if you want to manually transcribe your documents, you just choose the pages that you want to include in your ground truth material, and then you run the layout recognition so that you have the layout ready, as Sarah has showed it before, and then you start with the transcription. And here are some of our recommendations on how to do this. Usually you transcribe what you read, so you also include errors or punctuation marks and everything like that. But of course, that also depends on what you expect the model to, the model output to be. Then it is very important to be consistent within the transcription. Our suggestion would be to set up a document where you note your decisions that you've taken, especially if you're working with other people or in a team. Then there was a question in the chat before how to deal with words that you really cannot read, and this is our recommendation. You can tag them as either unclear or gap, so there are default tags for that. And then in the training configuration, you can leave out these tagged lines. And in this way, the model won't learn anything any errors or anything like that you can't read. Another thing, a good thing to know is that lines that are left blank, so any lines without text or transcription, will not be considered in the training. So this is also a way to deal with unclear words. And I think this was already also discussed in the chat, how to deal with abbreviations. Basically, this again depends on what you expect as your final output. You can just maintain them, so you can just leave them as they are or transcribe them as you can see them in the original. You can solve them, or you can tag them as abbreviation and write them in the tag. So there it's up for you to decide how you want to train abbreviations in your model. And once you are finished with a page or more pages, we would recommend to save them as ground truth so that you then always know that these pages are ready for the training. Then the second option, so if there is a public model or even the supermodel that you can use to get automatically provide a transcription, then you can use this and correct the text that was given from the model. And so the process here would be to choose the pages to include in the ground truth as before, run the text recognition, and then correct these automatic transcriptions as consistently and as thoroughly as I've just explained on the last slide, and then again save this page or all the pages as ground truth. And then once you are done with this preparation process and you have the transcription ready, you have your ground truth material ready, you can, in the Transkribus interface, go to the training section, then click on text model because you want to train a text recognition model, and then select the collection with your ground truth transcriptions and enter a name, a model, a representative name, a description, and the language of your model. And then in the next steps, you can select the pages for the training set. So all the pages on which the model is trained on, and then also the pages for the validation set. So the pages on which the model tests its precision during the training process. And again, a good validation set usually consists of 10% of the training set and contains all examples given in the training data. Then there are some advanced options that you can choose from in the training configuration. So, sorry, can you go back one slide? Yeah, so just so you see that there's these 4 advanced options: number of epochs, early stopping, base model, and the option to reverse the text. And now on the next slide, we will, or the next 2 slides, we will explain this. So the number of epochs is as a default number set to 100, and an epoch is the number of evaluations of the training data. So basically how often the training data is evaluated during the training. And for the first try, you can just use the default number of 100. And then there is the early stopping option that you can also change. The value, the default value here is 20, and that means that if after 20 trained epochs, the CER on the validation set does not go down anymore, the training will be stopped so as not to use up any more unnecessary resources. But again, for your first tries, just use the default of 20 early stopping, the default value here. Then this has also been mentioned already. You can also select a base model to run with your training. And with the base model, the training doesn't start from scratch, so only from your provided training material, but also from what it has already learned in the base model. So this can help to speed up the training process. And also increase the recognition accuracy. And then there's also this option to reverse the text. This is especially necessary for scripts that are written right to left, but are transcribed from left to right in the text editor, as this is basically the only option available in the Transkribus web app at the moment. So if you have transcribed your text from left to right, but actually the text orientation is right to left, use this option when you start the training, so that the model will know. And then we have this overview of what you can expect when training your custom models. Basically, for printed text, it's rather easy to get a decent result or decent character error rate with only about 25 pages or 5,000 words of training data. So printed text is rather easy. And then for handwritten texts or documents, it depends. Generally, it depends on the how your documents are composed of, but especially depends of how many hands are in your training material. So if there's only one hand and the handwriting is fairly simple, then you can easily expect a character error rate between 4 to 2% with training data of about 50 pages or 10,000 words. But as soon as there are several hands in the training, of course, the character error rate will go up a bit. And if all of these hands are seen during the training, so meaning if all the hands are included in the training and the validation data, then again, with about several 50 pages or several 10,000 words of training data, you can expect a character error rate from between 6 to 4%. And then, of course, if there are many hands in your training material, but they are all from the same or about the same period and region, but they're not all seen during the training, then you can still, with more than 500 pages or considerably more than 100,000 trained words, you can still get a character error rate from 8 to 6%, and this is still useful, usually, of course, always depending on how you want to proceed with the output data. And then we have just a bit more information to keep in mind when training models with your own documents. So, of course, if there are hands in the training data that if there are hands in your documents that you want to automatically transcribe, but they are not seen in the training data, or the notes are very scribbled, for example, then of course the results to expected are much worse. but you can kind of deal with that by increasing the training data. And in general, if you double the number of training data, you can expect about 20 to 25% decrease of the character error rate for your model. And then another thing to keep in mind, which we've already talked about, is that existing models can be used as starting points. So base models to reduce the required amount of new data. And of course, you can also use your own existing models as base models and using them improve the character error rate of your model or the different models that you will train considerably. And now that's it for the training of text recognition model. And I'm handing over to Helene to talk about the other kind of models.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. So as you already mentioned, I'll now go into the training of layout models. And first we will talk about the lines models. So when we start text recognition, in reality, there are two steps, even if we just click one button. First is the layout recognition to detect the lines and text regions. And then we have the text recognition. These two can also be performed as two separate steps, especially when we have complex layout. So because in historical documents, we often only not have just one continuous block of text. For example, with documents like newspapers, tables, or forms, we often have some complicated layouts throughout the entire collection. So we'll next see the workflow of the layout recognition. So first is the markup of the document image layout. So this means identifying the different elements within the image. For images of historical documents, we have two elements. That is first the text regions, that are the rectangular shapes that are encasing the text, and then the lines. And the lines are the most important reference point for text recognition. So the line should run along the bottom of the text line, and the letters should sit on top of these lines. The descenders go down below. And this is fundamental for the text recognition and the training of the models. So we have some examples of these two elements to show you. Here on the left side, loading. On the left side, you can see the text region in green. It's surrounding the entire text. On the top right, we have an example of what we mean by lines. So you can see we have a line throughout the entire text line with the text sitting on top of it. Each line is marked as its own line within the image. That is also an own line in the text. And below you can see the layout tree. So you can see the structure of the layout. There is the region at the top, and below are the separate lines that belong to this specific region. Now, the lines model is a model that you train to detect the lines of the text. We also call them baseline models. If you use the default layout recognition, it can sometimes not work that well. If it doesn't work well on your documents, what you can do is first try to change the model and try to use one of the public lines models that we have. So what we have here is 3 big public lines models that are available is the mixed text line orientation, the horizontal text line orientation, and then lastly, Transkribus UD25K. So if the default layout recognition doesn't work well, using one of these could definitely help improve results. What you can also do is to modify the advanced settings. So you modify the layout recognition by changing those. For a really complex layout, it could be a bit of a trial and error process. So try to modify some of the settings depending on what issues you have with the type of material, and run the layout recognition on a few pages to test the settings out a bit. So for example, as we can see here, just as an example of the settings, we see on top the generation of text regions, so that the model either generates new text regions, or if you have already manually drawn them, you can of course keep the existing ones. Since there are quite a few settings, as we can see, we have also included the link to our help center. Here we have a help article to show what all the different settings mean and how you can use them to improve the layout recognition. Now, if you're not happy with the result of either the public models or the advanced, you now have an option to train a customized lines model for your documents. So when training a lines model, the important thing to remember is that all pages need to have a similar layout for it to work well or to achieve good results. On the next slide, we have an example of the default layout where we have some problems on the left. The default layout recognition didn't really get all the lines correctly, didn't get all the lines entirely. There is a ditto sign, like the quotation that is missing, that it didn't recognize, and some lines were split into two. And on the left side, you can see the layout that we would like to have for this type of document. Obviously, it depends on your needs and on what you want. Now, when it comes to training a lines model, at least 50 pages of ground truth are required. So to create the ground truth pages, you can either draw them manually or run the automatic layout recognition and correct it. So just again, a quick recap, because there was also a question before about ground truth. Miriam also explained it again very well, but ground truth is the correct data to train the model. For the lines model, text is not necessary, meaning that the training is done only on the layout. So you just need to check that the lines are drawn correctly, but you don't need to just transcribe the text already. Just draw the lines basically to train it. If you have certain parts in the layout that you don't need to be transcribed, you only want certain information or certain parts, of course, you can leave them out and just draw the lines for the text that you are actually interested in. We will also have a look at that later with an example. Yeah, and then you can train the model. We have, again, some resources here to help you with that in our help center. So you can have a look at the resources in our link. Then, as always, after the training, you can apply your customized model to your documents. And similarly to train text recognition models, the trained lines models will appear in the list of your private models, but the private layout models. So make sure you click on layout, not text recognition. Yes, and now we will move on to field and table models. So these models can be used for documents with multiple text fields, for example, newspapers or forums, Afri has here as an example. And of course, also, as the name says, with tables. If you use the default layout recognition, you can again have some difficulty dealing with complex layout. So the fields and tables models we have specifically designed to work with complex layouts. So first, let's look at the field model. Now, based on the ground truth you created, the fields model will automatically identify the text regions on the new pages and also provide them with the corresponding text. The advantage here is that the fields models require less training data, and they're also more precise than the existing layout tool, which is the P2Pala. So the trainable layout models like the fields model is not an all-in-one solution. It needs to be trained with a specific purpose for certain collections and documents, because especially with complex layout, that can vary a lot from collection to collection. So it's best to train it with a certain collection and a specific purpose. On the next page, we have a nice example of where we can see of how well the segmentation works with a newspaper. So we can see the different text regions, they're recognized and tagged, and we even have some regions overlapping, but they are still recognized. On the next slide, we can also see the text regions here, and even small text regions are recognized. And even on the left side, you can see from behind there's some text shining through, but still the text is recognized. Then we have also form segmentation. So the fields model is also intended to work with forms. And when working with forms, often just some or only the filled out information from the document is needed. So similarly to what I mentioned before with the lines, if you only need specific information and you're looking to extract that information, you can also just mark the fields that you actually need. So for example, there is no need to transcribe the title of the text field like family name or date of birth every time, and you only want the name itself or the date itself. So just create the text region on the information that you want and label the text with the tags. As you can see here, for example, we have text regions for family name, date of birth, where they live, or the citizenship as well. Now, lastly, we will talk about the table models. So again, based on the ground truth you created, the table models will automatically detect and draw a tabular structure on your new pages. So before we had lines, then fields or text regions, and now it's a table structure. Again, this is not all-purpose, general purpose, or all-in-one solution, and it needs to be trained on specific documents. Similarly to fields, tables can vary a lot from collection to collection, so we want to make sure that it fits your customized need and your documents as best as possible. With enough ground truth, a model can also deal with multiple types of tables. So this means that if the structure of the tables has changed and you have, let's say, 2 table structures, you can add a second set of ground truth layout of the second kind of table to train the model. So this is also really great if you have 2 different types of tables in one collection. And now we can see just some variations of different table structures. And these images just show how it can deal with different types of tables. And that the trainable table model also works when, for example, the row height is irregular. Or if, for example, the lines are slanted. We have some examples here. That's it for me for now. And I'll hand over the mic again.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, very, very good presentation from you all. Thanks a lot. I've tried to keep up with the chat. It was really busy. It's really great. So before I continue with the next slides, if you have other questions, feedback, feature ideas, feedback in any kind of form, just add it to the chat. We will maybe not be able to answer all of it, but we will save the chat and then try to address as much as possible, because this is really helpful. And that's why we also scheduled this webinar today, to get as much feedback as possible from you, to kind of bring it back into development in the shortest way possible, and to really, make the software yours and adapt it to your needs. Obviously, we cannot do everything at the same time. We really try to, but we kind of need to prioritize in some sense, and also make some features available earlier than others. Obviously, many of you have mentioned there is still the expert client, so the desktop version, which has a lot of very specific features, which will obviously be integrated in the web version. For now, we are focusing on the big picture and really moving Transkribus towards a new holistic concept, where we first try to get the concept right and then integrate all those very, very, very helpful little features over time. Of course, not all of them will be integrated at the same time, but we do our best. We are still a rather small team of a little bit more than 30 people, but yeah, we do our best, and it's really great to also get that much feedback from you as a community, because this is how we can make the best product possible. And that's maybe to come back to the introduction, we have that cooperative forum. We really can focus on building the product as good as possible, rather than trying to meet any shareholder expectations, where we really need to see how we are profitable. We just need to see, and that is a little bit different to other enterprises, that we are in the black figures, so we can support the platform and further develop it without making big a surplus in the balance sheet after a year. Nonetheless, we kind of need to also adapt a little bit in terms of our business model, and that's just a quick introduction on what is coming in the next weeks in terms of subscription plans. As you know, Transkribus right now, it's completely free. It will remain free. Most of the features that you have currently seen, they will all be available to everyone. Some of them, like the newer features that we are introducing, will be part of the subscription plans. If you can go to the next slide, Sarah. There will be a change from the on-demand credit packages to a subscription-based model, but this will also give you more freedom in terms of if you are working with Transkribus on a constant basis. The idea here is really to reward everyone who is very loyal to the software and is using it on a ongoing basis to achieve their goals. For this, we are switching towards 3 new subscription plans. They will be called individual, scholar, and organization. What we tried here is really to schedule it or to tailor it to the different user groups. As you see, the individual plan will be free. So everybody who is currently using Transkribus on a free basis will still be able. What we will change here is that you are not getting 500 credits upon sign up as it is now. You will get 100 credits every single month. So basically a lot more than you get at the moment, but you need to be a constant user of the software. So we have seen some account abuse with the 500 free credits, which we obviously also expected. It's quite easy to set up a couple of accounts to get those 500 free credits. So this is something that we will change, but in the long run, you get a lot more. That said, we will also introduce a little bit more tailored plans to those that are using the software on a more advanced level, like with the fields model, like with the smart search. So those advanced tools for our regular use, where you kind of transcribe the documents of maybe your genealogic research, there you probably don't need those very advanced tools, but we kind of need to switch a little bit towards a model where we really try to make the software the product, not just the text recognition as it is now. So as you've seen, there is a lot more to it than just, under quotation marks, text recognition. And that's why we are introducing those new plans. And then there will also be organizational plans. They are on request, so you kind of need to get in touch with us. As we've seen, there are very, very different projects and scenarios as you could work with Transkribus. And that's why we've decided to kind of really try to tailor those organizational plans to the different scenarios of usage. And that's why we also try to speak to everyone before we really see how and what the best solution could be in every specific case. If you can go to the next slide. A little time frame. We will roll out the first and especially the organizational plans, we're already rolling them out. So the transition will start in August, where we switch towards this new model rather towards the end of August. The main advantage of the cooperative members will be that all features will be available to members. So if you become a member of the cooperative, which we will really try to incentivize, because this is how we grow and how we as a community can support Transkribus in the long run. Every feature and also every feature that we will add in the future will be available for cooperative members. And as said, everyone on a free plan will get 100 free credits every single month. In the long run, we really try to come up with a very good software solution as it is Transkribus, and thus we hope that the whole community will really benefit from this as we can introduce new solutions. I've read a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different problems now in the chat that you are facing. So as a lot of varieties in the material you are working with from day to day, so are also the different problems. So every one of you will have different problems that you face, and we will try to really provide the tools to work on those problems as good as possible. If you can go to the next slide then. One thing that is also very important to us is supporting the aspiring researchers and the aspiring users of Transkribus. So that's why we, when we switched to the pricing model basically in 2020, because before of that, when the EU projects were still around, Transkribus was completely free. We immediately started the Transkribus scholarship plan. And up until now, we've supported about 300 different scholarship recipients with free processing power, so basically free credits that they can use for their thesis and for their research from, I can tell you, a lot of different fields. We wouldn't have expected that. It's really great to see that Transkribus is used in so many different fields. So if you have students that are working with Transkribus, or if you're a student yourself, please apply. We're happy to support you, as well as for teachers. So for teachers, we're also providing those scholarships, as well as specifically in Austria, we have partnership with the Claria Consortium. There's a Claria scholarship in Austria as well for junior researchers in the Austria area. That said, we have a lot of help resources. As you've seen, the team that is currently here is working almost day and night to keep them up to date. It's not an easy task, as we are also moving forward fast. So we do our best to keep the resources up to date. In our new help center that you maybe might want to check out on help.transkribus.org. There we really have a lot of information and a nice search where you can try to find answers. And if you don't find answers there, we're always having an open ear for everyone. We really try to answer every single question and every single email that we get from you. And of course, on social media, some of you are very active there as well. You can always tag us or ask us questions or tweet about Transkribus. We're always happy to read that. That said, let's maybe come to a couple of questions. We have now about a little bit more than 20 minutes to answer your questions. I said I've tried to answer a lot of them during the presentation by my colleagues before, but I think we can have a look at them now. If I open the chat, there are a lot. So maybe Sarah or Miriam, have you a question right away that you might want to answer, so I can have a look at some in the meantime? Maybe if I have a look at the Q&A, there is one very straightforward.
The Q&A.
Yeah, there are only seven ones, and then we can have a look at the chat and try to answer as many questions as possible.
Sorry, there's one question that would be good. Somebody asked about our logo. Some words about the Wolpertinger.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story, actually. Back in project times, it was actually a gag from the developers when they needed to choose a kind of logo or a symbol for the software for the splash screen, as you know it from the desktop version. So the idea was to add something that is like our software, and that is the Wolpertinger, which is basically a mystical figure from the Bavarian folklore. And it's basically an animal which is a hare, so kind of a rabbit, with deer antlers and wings and fangs from a wolf. And that's basically, and now also ended up in our new logo. We tried to bring that to a more contemporary design and also integrate it in our new logo. So we call it the Volpi. It's also a very well used kind of word in our internal communication. We really like the Volpi and also identify a little bit as Volpi. So as you've seen, there's a lot of different components going into Transkribus, as antlers and wings and fangs and different animals. So yeah, that's a little bit the background about our new logo. I hope you like it. Maybe some don't, but yeah. The idea is to have a unique symbol that you can recognize when you see Transkribus. And maybe then let's quickly come to the Q&A before doomsday is hitting me here, at least in the Alps. The page metadata, if you could filter documents by page metadata, currently it's not really possible, but that's basically something that we have on the roadmap. That's something that would be very helpful, that you can filter for different metadata that you have in your documents. How do you work with region? In other words, to have smudged or unwanted text excluded. Maybe Sarah, can you answer this one if you want? As
in this case, you would need to train a fields model. So I assume that the unwanted text region have distinctive elements. So in the layout, you want just the main, you want to transcribe just the marginalia, not the main text. You can train a fields model to do that.
Exactly.
And just create in the ground truth, you draw the text regions around the elements that you're interested to recognize. Then you train the model and you apply the model, and it will learn to take only the elements that you are looking for.
Exactly. I can take the next one maybe, and that's also some question that I've read in the chat a couple of times. We have this on the radar. Basically, if you can add custom status labels. So right now you have the status labels that are new, in progress, then done, or final. Some workflows use it differently because it's also not completely sure or clear what the difference between final and done is. You might use it differently. And then obviously there's ground truth. So on the ground truth label, there's basically some functions that are related to that. But we are really actively thinking about how we could revise this concept, because in general, you could say that there are a lot of different workflows you can work with Transkribus. This one is still from the project times. There were these labels introduced, and the workflow basically looked like that someone worked on a transcription, then they set it to done. So they had finished the transcription. Someone else checked the material. After they had checked the material, it was set to final. And then after that, you could still think of setting the final one to ground truth if you want to use it for a training, because there might be cases you want to have something marked as final, but still don't want to use it for a training. So that's why those three labels that are quite similar were introduced. But it's probably a good idea to think of that concept in general. Again, also having the ground truth label, because that's a label that is used for text recognition, for training models for the text recognition, for instance, differently. And there we are already thinking of it. And that's very valuable feedback if we get it from you. So no concrete answer right now how we will change it, but we are actively thinking of this concept as a whole. Then I don't know if someone has something in the meantime. I would have to have a look.
Yes, maybe there's a question about considering to become an individual member. Mm-hmm. If you can speak about the membership a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's always a good idea. Basically, if you become a member, you really acquire a share in the READ cooperative. So basically, it's a SCE, which is a European Cooperative Society. As a legal form, you if you become an individual member, you can acquire one share and not more, and that share is 250 euros. And with that share, you have a say in the development of Transkribus. We have a General Assembly, which is basically our main organ of decision making, which takes place once a year, and where all the major decisions are taken in terms of how the cooperative as a whole moves forward. And also the board of directors is elected there. I am a member of the board of directors, and we have 4 other colleagues. You might know some of them, Annemieke Romein, for instance, who is our community director. She's very active in the community. You might know her from Twitter or Facebook. In the Facebook group, she's also very active. And we are really trying to hear as much as possible the feedback that you give us and integrate it into our day-to-day work, and also the roadmaps that we are making and planning to further develop the software. And becoming a member of our society, we always very warmly welcome everyone who really wants to take part. We just recently got a very also emotional message when someone joined as a private member, because they really believe in a democratic way of organizing. a business like we are, because in the end we're a business, we need to see that we are making at least a very slight profit to maintain the platform, that we can reinvest those profits in the platform again, but in a very democratic way. We are organized, as said, in the cooperative form with those organs that I just mentioned. Is there anything else? Maybe that's a good workflow if you can ask the question, so I don't need to have a look in the meantime.
Yes, if there is a maximum page or credit limit on the new Scholar subscription model, maybe?
Yeah, so those models will be scalable. So those plans, the Scholar plan, for instance, will reach a maximum of 3,000 pages per month. So that's already quite a large figure. If you really process 36,000 pages in a year, you can switch to that plan, but you have always the option, and that's what we are kind of also very intensively considering and not moving away, is the on-demand credit packages. They will still be available. So if there is a spike, if you have a project that you need to work on and want to work on that specific project in a very short amount of time, let's say 2 months, you can always also acquire additional credits for those spikes. And what you can also do is get the subscription on a yearly basis, so you will get the whole quota at once. So let's say if you opt for the largest plan, like 3,000 credits on the Scholar plan, you get those 36,000 pages at once a year, and can use the quota basically also. Like one day is probably not possible, as there are other users as well, and you cannot process 36,000 pages in a day, but obviously in a very short period of time. And maybe speaking of the infrastructure, that's also something that is very important. We are really, as said before, maintaining the infrastructure on our own. If you consider the data amount that we have in our platform at the moment, we are the region that is comparable in terms of how much storage we use to large streaming platforms. So we are really in a league in terms of data amounts that is also kind of blowing away our minds. There are about 50 million pages in the platform, and you can then probably calculate yourself how many terabytes of storage that is. And therefore, we really need to see how we kind of maintain the platform and still make it possible to process your material as quickly as possible in a short period of time.
Yeah, another question about the individual plan. Will XML export be available in the new individual plan?
Yeah, like the basic XML export will likely be available, but we will.
The page XML, I think.
Yeah, that's basically the most basic, because there are also advanced XML export where you can toggle on and toggle off tag exports, etc. So we all are probably going to limit the export options for the individual plan. This has a simple reason. The export right now, as it is in the desktop client, for instance, has about, I don't want to say something false, but has many checkboxes that can be ticked all at the same time. I've once calculated it. There are about 140 million different combinations of exports that you could do with the current desktop client, because of so many different tick boxes, and they led to a lot of problems that you cannot all address. And that's why we are trying to limiting the export options to really the most important ones that you might want to use, but we are always trying to see if it's really a good idea, and maybe there are users in the individual plan that might need another export format. Righty. I don't know if there's any.
Okay, last question in the Q&A. During a conference, it has emerged the need for a central gate that could link different sites and digital archives. It is possible to create in the future a search engine that lets users navigate through the archives within the Transkribus platform.
Okay, yeah, this is a very nice one. As I've explained, we have the solution of read and search. There are about 30 to 35 different websites that are already using the read and search solution, which is basically a website where you can publish your material in a searchable way. with full text search in combination with fuzzy search, so not very accurate search if you want to kind of make it a little bit less sensitive, and also smart search to, as Sarah has shown before, or Miriam, I'm not sure, I wasn't paying attention to the chat, so I'm sorry. In combination with smart search, so you can make your material searchable. And what we are doing with Transkribus sites now is basically giving you the option to set up those websites on your own. And then afterwards, we are really planning to kind of make it possible for you. Of course, you need to opt in to integrate your site in a bigger search platform where you can then add multiple, or basically everyone who opts in can share their material on that search platform. So it will hopefully end up as a really extensive platform where basically history can be searched in a very quick and easy way. In terms of time frame, that will probably take a little bit more. As said, we cannot do everything at the same time. But Transkribus sites as such is planned to be at least released as a prototype, and the first test projects we will probably launch next month. Then there's one question for the expert client. I can reassure you that the expert client will not be gone. We will not shut it down, and it will always be, at least at the state that it is now, be available. What we will do is not integrate any new features. So if there are any new things that you want to use in Transkribus, you will then need to switch to the web version, which will later on be also desktop version. So with the web technologies, it's rather easy to bring them to the desktop, like you might know other apps like maybe Visual Studio Code, if you're a little bit more coding towards coding, or also Slack. They are basically web applications that are running on your local machine. And with a very similar solution, we'll also bring Transkribus as a desktop client again, but as you know it from the web, with maybe some slight changes. But in general, we are planning to rehave another desktop version, but one that has the same extent of features in a little bit more holistic way as it is now. Good. As said, all those questions and feedback items in the chat, we will definitely have a look at them. Maybe we will also try to reach out to you if there's something specific. You can always reach out to us at the info address. So Johannes and Miriam are mainly there and doing a great job and really trying to answer every question as quickly as possible. As said before in the chat, there might be some occasions where some emails slip through, but that's really very, very rarely the case. And if that happens, please just write us an email again and we will definitely answer. Is there anything more from the chat that we could address directly? I'm just having a quick look. Let me see if there's something that was there before. Okay, scholarship, you answered that. Okay, yeah, that's one question. In the expert client, we can paste the whole previously transcribed text. That's partially true. At the moment, you can't. That was a solution that we had once, but we needed to remove because of proprietary software that we needed to remove from the platform. But that will be possible soon again. I cannot give you a concrete estimate on how quickly that will be possible. So basically what that tool will be doing, you can paste your existing transcription, because very often there are existing transcriptions from some archivists maybe that really have gone the really stony road to type down every single character from existing material into a Word document, for instance. And then you have really nicely transcribed documents, but without any layout information and without any connection between the layout and the text. With the text to image, as it was called previously, you had the option to kind of match that. You just pasted the text from an existing transcription into a page that you uploaded, and then it matched basically the text with the layout. What it did under the hood is basically do a transcription of the page that you uploaded, and then matching the two versions. So the better the model that you've used, because you needed to choose a text model for that process, the better the matching was. At the moment, we already have 2 prototypes. So we are kind of evaluating with 2 very different approaches how this technology, because it's rather complicated if you really dive deep. I also thought it shouldn't be that complicated, but actually it is. We have 2 prototypes. They are both working okay. One is a little bit better than the other. The other has a few other flaws, which we are still ironing out. But once we have decided which prototype we will be opting for, we will develop a product, or basically a feature from that, and then integrate it into the platform. So that will be coming again. I guess we should have it before Christmas to not be too optimistic, but as we have the prototype already, it's likely that we have it soon. Then there's a lot of thank you messages, but I can just return that. It's really helpful, all that feedback. Let me scroll a little bit down. There are also requests if we cooperate. We are always open to cooperation. So we also have done already some cooperations with others from the same field. So that's basically something that we always try to have as much as possible. Our doors are always open to anyone, and really we encourage that actually to work together as much as possible. The best way for every institution or every organization would be to become a member, because then they own a share in Transkribus and in the READ cooperative, to really get together and work on projects that are really geared towards unlocking the history, because there are many good initiatives that are striving towards the same goal. Because I think we're all here because we really like what we're doing and really want to make history available. Let me scroll a little bit down. It's also very cool to see a lot of people from around the world. So also with the members, we're quite global already, and a lot of people from America are here as well, which is really cool. Regarding the expert, we answered that.
There is a new question in the Q&A.
Oh yeah.
About IIIF integration.
Yeah, I had the question before in the chat, but it's very easy to lose something. Yes, there is already an integration in the expert client, which is not perfectly working all the time because of the different manifestations of the IIIF integration, or of the IIIF standards that there are. So we will also integrate that. So there will be, as you have it on beta now, there is also partially already integrated the export option. If you select a document and go to export, you see the standard export and the PDF export already. There will be more options added. The same goes for the import. There will be an import dialog where you can import different formats like the IIIF manifest if you will kind of want to directly import it from there, or XML imports, etc. So there will be import kind of process that you can have in Transkribus, and we will try to iron out those problems in terms of incompatibility. But there are certainly some things that are, it really depends on the IIIF manifest that you're using, if it's compatible or not.
I have to say that lately it works quite well in the expert, also with the newest IIIF manifest.
Okay, yeah, I have not tried it out, so our bees are very MC in the background and working very actively on those things. So it might be that some things were fixed there already. Individual member, we talked about that. Regarding the scholarship plan, yeah, it will be on a monthly basis. You can opt for a yearly basis. but we will not be very strict. You can always cancel, but our goal is really to provide you with a software that you like and you want to use. So there is no need to cancel, hopefully. Yeah, maybe a couple of words about integrations of large language models. So the super models, as we've heard today, they are already working or using a similar technology, so the transformer-based technology. So we partially already have saw the first steps towards that direction, but we're also actively exploring how large language models could be integrated for different tasks, like annotation, like named entity recognition, where we really annotate your material with the large language model, like GPT-4 obviously is the incumbent at the moment, but there are other options as well. We're also considering open source options that might be then running on our own premises, where we really don't need to share any data with other organizations like OpenAI, for instance. So there are some active processes in our research and development department. So I'll maybe, if you like, I can answer some more questions, or we could answer some more questions. We are slightly overrunning, but if it's fine for you, we can stick around for a couple of more minutes and then let's call it a day. It's quite hot here, so I hope for you it's the same. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, there it might be a little bit colder. Let's see if there are any questions at all. Yeah, text Titan, maybe a request to add Portuguese. Yes, we will definitely add more languages, and that's also why, as if you signed up for the supermodels, you've answered what languages you're interested in. We will use obviously that information to kind of tailor the new models that we will be training, or rather fine-tuning towards different languages. Interestingly, we have made some tests. You can do some tests on your own. In some occasions, it works even if it doesn't have the language in its training data. So those languages, or those models, are that big and have seen a lot of different languages and can even try to come up with the words without even being trained on a specific language. Like Portuguese, I guess, is a little bit more difficult. We have French, I think, in the training set, and Italian, but I'm not sure if that will be sufficient to kind of come up with a decent Portuguese transcription. But we will definitely add more languages to those supermodels to make them really robust. The idea with them is, and that's maybe also something that we could, I'm not sure, I was paying attention to the chat, I'm even not sure if you mentioned that, Sarah, that with the supermodels, you have a very good out-of-the-box performance. So you can quickly reach 95%. But if you really want to have a transcription, very close transcription for 1, 2, 3 hands, then it's better to train a specific model. With the standard models, you can train them on your own, and they are also a little bit quicker, because as you might see, as the models are that big, the recognition is slower. If it takes about 20 seconds for a standard page with the standard models, it's about a minute for the supermodels. So it's about 3 times as slow as regards to the standard models. That's also why the supermodels will be part of the Scholar plan, because they are just much more resource intensive, and we need to see how we even come up with those resources. Okie dokie. Let's see if there is another question. But I think we have addressed most of them. Okay, yeah, there is one question from Greg. Yeah, maybe just shoot us a direct message. Okay, it was a direct message. Yeah, I will answer that then later on. Okay, so I would say let's really call it a day now. It's really great having you all here. Big thanks to the team. It's really a team effort always to prepare everything and really come up with all those materials. Sarah does a tremendous job in terms of preparing all the slides and all the educational material. I said Miriam and Johannes is really doing a very good job in terms of supporting you as much as possible, and also Helene is very doing a very, very good job in terms of communicating all this, because Helene is mainly working in terms of communications. So we need to bring the good message out to the people, and therefore we also need to communicate a lot. So yeah, thank you very much. If you have questions, as I said, you can always shoot us a message. And yeah, thanks a lot. See you around. Bye-bye.